as you know by now,
Yay.
UFC goes to the Sphere in Las Vegas for UFC 306, UFC Noche. 5-fight main card, 2 title fights. A lot of good, a lot of exciting fights. The Mexicans always bring entertaining fights, and there's a lot of Mexicans in this card.
And they also, never mind. Let me not go into that.
But let's start out with the main card opener at the Sphere.
Ronaldo Rodriguez taking
Lazy
on...
boy. He called himself that, not us.
Yeah,
taking on
he's a fighter.
The Jamaican sensation from America.
Osborne.
Rodriguez 1-0 in the UFC with a submission win, 16-2 overall. He's taking on Osborne. Quite a bit more UFC experience. He's 4-5 in the UFC. 2 KO wins, 2 KO...
You'll get there.
2 KO wins.
There you go.
2 sub wins.
Appreciate it.
3 sub losses.
Okay.
Osborne is coming off of a loss, 2 straight losses, and lost 3 out of 4, while Rodriguez has a 6-fight winning streak and is ascending.
Okay, but stop. Round of applause for getting through that.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said because it's all literal facts. Rodriguez has also finished 12 out of 16 of his career wins, which to me spouts a finisher. That's really all I can say about that. Osborne is 1-3 against Orthodox fighters, which was kind of a weird stat to me because Orthodox is the thing you're going to be fighting most often.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're only 1-3 against Orthodox fighter as a southpaw, which is the looks that they never get, are you just facing tough fights, or are you getting beat, you know, by right-handed dudes more often than left? You getting beat off by right-handed dudes, man? I don't know. I pick Ronaldo Rodriguez for a couple reasons. 1-3 for Osborne against Orthodox fighters. The age difference is there for Rodriguez. I know sometimes I like to talk about it, sometimes I don't. I think I'm starting to get a handle on when the age matters, though, like Gilbert mattered.
I don't think this is one where age matters because 32 is not old.
No, I don't think it is either. I just like mentioning it because I wanted to talk about why I talk about it so often. But anyway, I do think Ronaldo Rodriguez is going to get a finish in this fight.
I agree with you. I think Rodriguez wins. I think it's a guy whose career is on the decline, no offense to Osborne.
Yeah.
And then Ronaldo Rodriguez, 16-2, as we said, 6-fight winning streak, 1-0 in the UFC. He's on the ascend. I think he comes in. I think he gets a finish. I think it could be by KO or by sub. He's multi-talented.
The lazy boy's getting up.
The lazy boy, and I think he puts on a show to open the main card.
Yeah, I agree. I think ride the Rodriguez hype train, especially if you look at the obvious Noche UFC thing. They want the Mexico side to win, or at least, you know, they're not trying to put shitty Mexican fighters on the card. They're trying to put the better Mexican fighters, give them a fight they can win at the very least.
I agree.
Let's go to the next fight. Daniel Zellhuber, the golden boy,
from Mexico,
taking on Esteban Ribovics, the Argentinian. Now,
El Gringo.
To talk about Ribovics,
2 young guys, 25 and 28.
Ribovics is the guy who had the 30-second KO over Terrence McKinney most recently.
Yes.
That was like
highlight reel.
That's like the thing, you know, he had Terrence McKinney's arms unable to move. He was so knocked out. It was crazy.
2-fight winning streak after he lost his first UFC fight for Esteban as well.
Yep. Zellhuber also lost his UFC debut to Trey Ogden. But outside of that, he's been completely perfect.
Yeah, 3 straight wins since then.
And only had 1 decision, which is
so
crazy.
Both guys, Zellhuber 15-1 in his career, 3-1 in the UFC. Ribovics 13-1, 2-1 in the UFC. So similar records. Both guys that are used to winning. I mean, they win over 90% of the time.
I looked at my stat sheet, my personal stat sheet that I keep for all the fights that we look at. I picked Daniel Zellhuber to lose like twice since we've talked about it. And this, I mean,
he's won both of them.
Right, he's won both of them. I think this time I'm going to flip the script. I think I'm going to go with Daniel Zellhuber here. Excuse me.
He's probably wishing you didn't say that.
And the reason is you know, I think Zellhuber's a better, well-rounded fighter. You know, while the takedowns aren't going to come as frequent from Zellhuber, I think the defense is there. I think the striking is there. I think the switch stance is going to help him, and I think the 8-inch reach advantage is going to be a monstrous thing for Zellhuber.
I kind of wish you didn't say that either, because I'm picking Zellhuber too. I just think he's the guy with more going on. As you said, I think the reach is going to play a factor. Both young guys. But yeah, I got Zellhuber.
Shit.
I think the Mexican is going to start off the main card 2-0.
That was my lean coming in as well. Let's go to T-City. Brian Ortega taking on
An American with Mexican heritage.
Diego Lopez.
A Brazilian who fights out of Mexico.
So who's the truer Mexican here? Brian Ortega, because of the heritage actually being Mexican?
I'm not here. I'm a white guy. I'm not going to say who's more Mexican, who's more not.
I'm going to be honest. I was trying to bait you, and you passed the test. Another round of applause
Brian
for Mr. Christian,
Ortega,
everybody.
16-3 with 1 no contest in his career, 8 wins, 3 losses in the UFC. Lopez, surprisingly, 25-6. He's fought a lot, only 29 years old. He's 4-1 in the UFC. That's 4 straight wins, 2 after losing his opener. And 3 of those wins by finish. He's a guy that can do everything. He's exciting.
Yep.
While Ortega, he's a guy, he's also exciting. You know, he doesn't get enough credit, but he's a guy, when he wins, he finishes guys.
I've decided not to do my normal thing of just absolutely hating on people, because I took a more extensive look at Ortega this time, and while I'm just not a personal fan of his...
If you look at his record, it's pretty good.
3 losses, okay? 3
Max
losses
Holloway
to...
and Max Holloway ascent.
Yeah, and
then he lost to Volk when he damn near had Volk in a choke.
Yeah.
And then Yair where he got hurt and then immediately fought him again and beat him.
Right. So he's rectified a lot of his wrongs. You know, he proved the Yair fight was the injury, so I like that. Brian Ortega's a dog. You know,
he's a dog.
He's got
he's
the ability to sub you.
on his back.
He's got the KO ability.
T-City. But one interesting thing, T-City, I mean, he's fighting a guy who's never been subbed either and has 12 submission wins. So it's 2 guys, strength versus strength.
Yeah.
I think that almost cancels out, and it's going to come down to who's the better boxer.
So my thing here is Diego Lopez, he lost his UFC debut, right? But then he completely stomped through his next 4 opponents.
One of the internet's favorite
knocked out Pat
fighters.
Sabatini, knocked out Sodik Yusuf. He subbed Gavin Tucker, and then while it was a decision fight, he completely dominated Dan 300K Ige.
That was the first time they were supposed to fight,
right.
Ortega and Lopez. Ige, remember, took that fight on 4 hours' notice because Ortega, something happened. He got sick or something.
So I agree.
I'm glad.
I give hate where hate isn't due to Ortega.
But I'm glad
3-1 in the UFC after all. It's crazy.
I'm glad he's saying he's coming back and doing this fight though.
Yeah, a lot of times
that happens.
They would just let a new fight get rescheduled because to them it doesn't really matter.
That to me shows he was like, okay, I didn't just puss out.
And he also thinks he can win.
I agree. I mean, he has a. Listen, I'm not picking him. I'm picking Lopez, but this is almost a toss-up fight.
I agree.
I would not be surprised when if Ortega comes in and beats Lopez, but I think Lopez is going to win.
I agree. I think Lopez is going to win. Do you think Lopez is going to win by decision, submission, KO? He's only got 3 decisions. He's only been to the scorecards 7 times in his career, and if Diego Lopez is going to the scorecards, it's a toss-up if he's going to win.
I think this fight, just considering how neither one of them are going to get or have ever gotten subbed.
Okay.
Both guys are pretty good on the. Ortega doesn't get a lot of credit, but he's a pretty good boxer. I mean, obviously Lopez, we've seen him exciting. Right. I think Lopez wins the fight, and I think it goes to the scorecard.
Let's see. Yeah, Lopez isn't shooting for. He shot for 4 takedowns in his UFC career.
Yeah,
so far.
He has submissions, but he's not a big. He's a guy who's trying to entertain the crowd.
Yeah. And he's also super humble. That's very likable if you're not a complete
And
asshole.
he has the best/worst haircut and tattoos.
I hated that when I first saw him, and then he
then you watch him a few times and you're like, oh, I love this dude.
Yeah, this is the best. Do whatever you want, homie. Yeah, so we both picked Diego Lopez. I think he's going to get the finish. I think he's going to knock Ortega out.
All right, let's go co-main event. It's a trilogy fight.
Yep.
3rd time in a row these 2 ladies are fighting. We got Alexa Grasso, the champ, taking on Valentina Shevchenko. The last time they fought was in September of 23, so exactly a year ago. Mm-hmm. And it was a draw, a very close draw. I think it was at UFC, the last UFC Noche.
It was Noche UFC last year, yeah.
So they had the rematch. Before that, they fought. Grasso had the surprising submission win over Shevchenko.
Yeah.
Grasso 16-3-1 in the overall, 8-3-1 in the UFC. Again, she's the champ right now. She's won 5 out of her last 6. The only one was the draw that she didn't win. And Shevchenko 23-4 overall, 1 draw, 12 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw in the UFC. She was on a historic run before she ran into Alexa Grasso.
Yeah, she was. Grasso, funny enough, she's 1-1-1 against southpaws, which means she's 1-0-1 against
Yeah, I mean, she's 1-0 if she's not fighting Shevchenko.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of cool. Or 0-1 if she's not fighting Shevchenko.
Yes, 0-1.
But she is 7-0 as the favorite, which she currently is teetering on the favorite side at -140.
This is another one where I think anything can happen and it's a toss-up.
Yeah, absolutely. If Shevchenko comes out and fights like their last fight, she needs to make small adjustments to be able to win. But the same is to say for Grasso, because the fight was so close. If one person makes an adjustment to the better, that's what tilted it. That's what would tilt it.
One
into their
interesting
favor.
thing about Shevchenko, her last win was now June of 2022, and it was a controversial split decision win.
Mm-hmm.
She's 36 years old. She's fighting the younger fighter in Grasso, who's 31.
That's not.
when does age come into a factor?
They say like 7+.
Yeah,
is at
but
least the stat.
35 plus is when you're supposed to be over the hill.
Right.
When you see a sudden drop off.
Now that the only thing I put weight on with that is I take it off of what the little ticker at the bottom of the thing says. That's where I picked it up so many times, is because they say it.
They do
all
say
the
it a
damn
lot.
time.
I'm just saying Shevchenko has not been in the win column for a while. She hasn't been the boogie woman that she once was. Her last 3 fights have not been her.
Has the bullet been shooting blanks?
The bullet, I wouldn't even go that far. I'd say the bullet's just not been quite as accurate.
Okay, that's fair.
I think the intimidation factor is no longer there for her. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying she can't win.
And they're damn near the same size.
I'm not saying she can't win, but I think Grasso has the confidence in this fight. I think Grasso comes in. I think she's a little more humble than Shevchenko, I would say. So I think she probably fixed some things in her game more. So that's why I'm leaning more towards Grasso. I think Grasso gets a decision win in this fight.
Cool. I lean Shevchenko. I'm going to pick Shevchenko. I don't know how it's going to end, but I think
this fight is anything can happen in this fight.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a bad pick to make, but there's a wrong pick, and we're only going to find out. Well, there may not be a wrong pick if there's another draw, but I'm not seeing that happen. I think Shevchenko is going to win, but it's going to be an interesting fight regardless. The main event, though, is Sean O'Malley defending his belt for the second time.
Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Taking on the challenger, Merab Dvalishvili. I'm getting so damn good at saying that.
Merab probably maybe the most deserving title shot of all time.
Yeah, absolutely.
10 straight wins where he's demolished everybody in his path. He's 10-2 in the UFC, which is crazy. So he lost his first 2 UFC fights and has won 10 in a row.
The crazy thing for me is that he has 13 decision victories. He doesn't finish hardly anybody.
He only has one.
He's got 4 total finishes in his career.
One in the UFC.
Yeah.
And it was a KO.
Right.
He's been finished once
And it
in
was
the
a
UFC.
surprise KO.
And he's taking on Sean O'Malley, who we all know.
I knocked that dude out? What the hell?
O'Malley has the power. He's 10 wins, 1 loss, 1 no contest in the UFC. He avenged his only loss with his last fight when he just totally outclassed
He
my
righted
boy
the
Cheeto.
only wrong of his career, proved that, kind of like T-City, the ankle injury for O'Malley was the thing that ended the fight.
6
it didn't have anything to
UFC
do with the fight.
knockouts. I mean, this guy has power. This is going to be one where it is stylistically opposing matchups.
Right.
Merab, he's known as he just wears you down.
Yeah, but we've seen...
Can Merab be... If he just rushes in, we saw what happens if you rush in, even if you're better on the... I mean, we saw what happened to his boy, Aljo.
Yeah,
you can't just rush in on Sean O'Malley.
He got counter left hooked, or counter left straight, whatever it was, and just Downsville.
And we saw even Cejudo was able to... Although Merab ended up dominating the fight, in the first round, Cejudo dropped Merab.
Right.
Merab, if he leaves himself open to that kind of shot against Sean O'Malley, it's donezo.
Dude,
He's sleeping.
I rewatched the Peter Yan fight, Merab Peter Yan.
He just
11 of 49 takedowns?
Yeah,
that is absolute torture.
He just killed Peter Yan's will.
Dude,
I felt bad for Peter Yan.
Yeah, like I rewatched it. I was like, oh, I already know how it's going to fight, and I don't want to keep watching this.
Yeah,
because I knew the stats and everything. I was like, oh, this is just going to keep piling and piling and piling up. The fact that you go for 49 takedowns in a fight is ridiculous to me. But let's look at the stats real quick of O'Malley. Against anybody, he's throwing whatever he has to throw. He's taking consistent shots. He's landing 50, 60+% of his striking, and they're hard strikes. He's got takedown defense.
He's got the range.
He's tall. He's lanky. He's got a 4-inch reach advantage over Merab. And there's been a few fights where we've seen Merab get not knocked out, but rocked.
I mean, he got
Definitely
rocked by Henry Cejudo.
We've seen him get rocked.
Old Henry Cejudo.
And if somebody like OMalley, who he's not a headhunter, but he's a precision striker who will take you out. I mean, we looked at the green-haired zombie. Who was that?
Moutinho.
Yeah, Chris Moutinho. We looked at that guy, and the dude just wouldn't go down, but the entire fight was just boom,
I mean,
accurate.
he took years off of his life.
Accurate. Yeah, and just dominated the fight. 318 strikes is what he attempted. 220 landed. It's crazy.
It's insane.
It's hard for me to say that Merab's going to walk in here and wear OMalley out because he doesn't have finishing ability to top-ranked people because he would have shown it by now, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think Merab, his game plan, I mean, we know both of the guys' game plan. O'Malley's going to be to knock him out. Merab's going to be to wear him down.
Right.
I'm banking on Sean O'Malley to catch Merab, as we've seen this happen before.
I would love it, too.
I got Sean O'Malley. I think he gets a knockout. And I think the best case scenario for Sean O'Malley, he knocks him out in the first or second round. So I think it's going to be first or second
Do you think
round.
Merab's more or less durable than Cheeto?
That's tough. It's so
Because Cheeto's took heavy shots in the last fight.
Cheeto's never been finished. Merab's been finished before once.
Cheeto's only been like knocked down once.
Yeah, and it was against.
It was that fight.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Because Cheeto,
I think Merab is more susceptible to getting knocked out, even though it's never happened. And I think that happens.
Nice, I like it. I also picked Sean O'Malley. I don't know how it's going to finish. Probably, I would say knockout as well, just because I like the power of O'Malley. I've seen, like we said, Cejudo rocked him, so who knows?